Have you ever wondered why some men, no matter how seemingly strong or composed, find themselves helplessly drawn to a woman who is anything but predictable? What is it about her presence that awakens something deep, something forbidden, within him? It isn't just her beauty, nor her charm, nor her wit. It's something more visceral, something primal, buried within the very fabric of his unconscious. You see, every man carries within him an image of the woman, the archetype, the object of desire, shaped by his own childhood, his own upbringing, and the deep recesses of his psyche. Sigmund Freud called it the anima, the inner feminine, a force that, if left unchecked, can become a powerful, chaotic force in his unconscious. And in the presence of a woman who embodies that forbidden, unknown desire, he is faced not with a mere reflection of himself, but with his deepest, most unconscious fears and passions. He is compelled, not just by her, but by what she represents. This is why, when a woman awakens the forbidden desire of a man, it is not just a matter of attraction. It is an emotional earthquake, a seismic shift that shakes the very core of who he believes he is. She does not simply play the role of the object of desire. She becomes the mirror he cannot look away from. And in that mirror, he sees everything he has hidden away, the parts of himself he has yet to confront, the darkness he's never dared to explore. When a woman taps into this realm, it isn't a simple gesture or a fleeting moment. It's a magnetism that permeates the air, a quiet power that radiates from her very being. Perhaps it's in the way she doesn't chase, doesn't seek approval, doesn't fall into the patterns of neediness or desperation that so many women unknowingly fall into. It's in the way she stands in her own power, confident in her own skin, utterly comfortable in her own worth. For the man who is in touch with his unconscious, she becomes a riddle, one that he cannot solve. The more he tries to understand her, the more elusive she becomes. She moves like liquid in his mind, ever-changing, ever-present. She is not easily possessed or tamed. And yet, she draws him in. She's the mystery he must unravel, the chaos he must comprehend. And every attempt to grasp her only tightens the grip she holds on his heart. But what truly awakens his forbidden desire? It's not just her actions. It's the way she presents herself, not as something to be attained, but as something to be revered. It's the way she pulls him into the depths of his own psyche, forcing him to confront what he has suppressed, to face the shadow of his own desires. It is in this confrontation with his shadow that the true power of her presence is revealed. She does not merely reflect his surface desires, his ego's fleeting yearnings. No, she reflects the parts of him he's too afraid to face. The parts that lie dormant, buried beneath layers of self-deception and societal conditioning. She becomes the embodiment of his suppressed needs, his repressed fantasies, and the untapped facets of his own identity. The more he tries to understand her, the more he is forced to look inward, unraveling the tightly wound threads of his psyche. It's as if she has cracked open a door within him, a door he never even knew existed, and through it, he must venture into the unknown. The emotional terrain is treacherous, and with every step, he risks losing himself, or finding himself, depending on which side of the abyss he falls. His desire for her is not merely a sexual impulse, it is an existential need. She calls forth the deepest parts of him, the wild, untamed aspects of his soul that have long been buried by the polite, controlled version of himself he's had to become in the face of society's expectations. Her power lies not in manipulating him or playing games, but in her ability to stand apart from him, to remain outside his grasp. It is this distance, this air of mystery, that drives him mad with longing. For in his mind, he believes that if he could possess her, he could unlock the parts of himself that have remained locked away. If he could only understand her, perhaps he could finally understand himself. But the more he tries, the more she slips through his fingers, leaving him with nothing but his own desires, his own reflection in her eyes. She has become both the object of his desire and the key to his own unraveling. And in this, she awakens something far more potent than mere attraction. She ignites a forbidden hunger within him, a hunger not for her alone, but for the parts of himself he's afraid to face. In her absence, he is forced to sit with the tension, the emptiness that comes from wanting what is out of reach. And in that emptiness, he begins to understand the depth of his own longing. This is where the dance becomes dangerous. For the man who has awakened to his own shadow, the desire is no longer just about possession. It is about transformation. It is about understanding the depths of his own psyche, facing the parts of himself he has neglected or rejected. And she, the woman who has awakened his forbidden desire, becomes his mirror, the reflection of his deepest, most hidden truths. It is in this mirror that he begins to see not just her power over him, but the power he has given her. She holds no control over him beyond what he has allowed her to see. And it is in this realization that he begins the journey toward individuation, the process of becoming his true self. But this journey is not without its cost. For in facing the depths of his own unconscious, he risks losing the very image of himself he has clung to for so long. In the pursuit of her, the man encounters a paradox that he can neither fully embrace nor dismiss. He desires her not because she is the object of his affection, but because she embodies something he cannot have, not because of her physical form, but because she represents the unknown, the forbidden, the unintegrated aspects of his own unconscious. Her allure, her power, stems from the fact that she will never be fully understood, that she will never be fully possessed. And in this mystery, he finds himself tangled in a web of desire that is more about what he cannot control than what he can attain. To awaken his forbidden desire is to awaken the shadow within him. And yet, it is in this very awakening that he stands at the precipice of transformation. As Carl Jung would assert, the shadow is not something to be feared, but something to be integrated. It is the unacknowledged, repressed aspects of the self that, when confronted, have the power to lead to wholeness. And this woman, by awakening that forbidden desire, forces him to confront those very parts of himself that he has long neglected, his deepest fears, his rawest impulses, his most unhealed wounds. But here's where the psychological depth deepens. The man's desire, once awakened, becomes an obsession with the feminine archetype itself, not just with her. It's as if the woman has become a conduit for him to explore the vast, hidden landscape of his own soul. She stirs something within him that is both thrilling and terrifying, a yearning that can never truly be quenched, a hunger that grows the more it is fed. In this dance of desire, there is no true satisfaction, only the pursuit. The deeper the man dives into this pursuit, the more he becomes entangled in his own projections. He begins to see in her not just the reflection of his own desires, but the projection of what he lacks. The woman becomes an extension of his need to find completeness, to fill the void within. He believes that if only he could understand her, he could understand himself. But in reality, it is the process of seeking her, not possessing her, that forces him to confront the dark, hidden places within his own heart. This is where the woman's role is so potent. She is not merely an object of desire. She is the catalyst for his self-discovery. She mirrors back to him the parts of himself he has denied, the desires he has suppressed, and the emotions he has avoided. And as long as he remains in this state of wanting, of reaching for something unattainable, he will never fully confront these truths. He will remain stuck in a cycle of desire and denial, never truly able to integrate the shadow she brings to light. But in this cycle, there is also the possibility of freedom. For the man who is brave enough to confront the forbidden desire she awakens within him, the man who dares to face the deepest parts of himself, there is the potential for growth. He can learn to transcend the need for possession, the need for control. He can learn to see her not as an object to be attained, but as a force that leads him toward wholeness. And in this transformation, he will become more than he ever thought possible. As the man continues his journey of self-discovery, something profound begins to shift within him. The veil of desire, once so consuming, begins to lift, revealing the truth beneath the surface. He realizes that his fixation on her, the woman who awakened his forbidden desire, was never truly about her at all. It was always about him. It was about the parts of himself he had repressed, the fragments of his soul that he had ignored in the pursuit of external validation, in the quest to mold himself into a version that society or his own ego demanded. The woman, as the catalyst, was never the destination. She was merely the reflection. She was the spark that ignited a flame deep within him, a flame that burned through the facade of who he thought he was, who he should be, and exposed the raw truth of who he really is. The forbidden desire she stirred within him was not something to possess or control, but something to release. He must let go of the need to dominate or understand her completely, for in that surrender, he begins to understand himself. Jung's concept of individuation emerges here. It is the process of integrating all the aspects of oneself, the light and the shadow, the conscious and the unconscious, into a harmonious whole. The man, through his encounter with this woman, is being called into this process. The forbidden desire, once something that pulled him into endless pursuit, now becomes the entryway into his own personal transformation. In the space where he once sought to possess her, he begins to seek mastery over himself. It is in this shift, from chasing her to chasing his own truth, that his desire becomes sacred. He no longer desires her for the sake of external gratification. He desires her because, through her, he has seen a path leading back to himself. She has awakened the dormant parts of his soul, and now, by relinquishing the need to possess, he begins to transform into the man he was always meant to be. The woman, in her mystery, in her power, has not been his prisoner to claim, but his guide to freedom. But this transformation is not without its challenges. The ego, that protective structure we build to shield ourselves from vulnerability, resists letting go of control. It will cling to the narrative that his desire must be satisfied, that he must win, conquer, possess. Yet the deeper he delves into the journey of individuation, the more he understands that his true power lies not in taking, but in surrendering, not in control, but in the ability to be present with the unknown. The woman, once the object of his forbidden desire, becomes the symbol of all the things he must accept and integrate within himself. And it is here, in the quiet space between desire and understanding, that he finds peace. No longer does the forbidden desire haunt him, for he has stopped chasing it. He has begun to live in harmony with his own shadow, to embrace the fullness of his own identity, without needing external validation. The woman, who once sparked this deep awakening, is no longer a figure of unattainable longing. She becomes a reflection of his own strength, his own power, and his own inner peace. The forbidden desire, once a source of chaos and obsession, is now an invitation to live authentically, free from the chains of external need. In this moment of realization, the man understands that the greatest gift the woman gave him was not herself, but the courage to face the parts of himself that he had long ignored. And it is in this awakening, in this transformation, that he becomes whole, not because of her, but because of the journey she helped him begin. The woman who knows her worth doesn't chase, she chooses. And the man who understands his own worth does not need to chase her, but chooses to live in the power of his own authenticity.